Hey, this is Chuck, and you are listening to Fans with Bands, the podcast where we talk to the fans and the bands they dig about life, music, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Today on Fans with Bands, we are talking to Laith Al-Saadi. Check it out. All right. Hey, this is Chuck with Fans with Bands, and I am talking to my musical hero and the super talented Laith Al-Saadi. So happy to have you here, Laith. How are you?
Great to be with you, Chuck.
Awesome.
As far as the time's considered, I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm fantastic right now because I'm here with you. So that's cool. Even though we're not in the same room, it's still awesome.
This is pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, and we also have fans. So we've got Jaime, Jane, Ron, and Sylvia. How are you guys doing?
Good. Real good.
Great. Thank you.
Excellent. So I kind of like to start things off by asking the fans how they became fans of Laith Al-Saadi. So why don't we start with Ron and Sylvia?
The Voice.
The Voice, awesome.
So I'm on The Voice, was a fan immediately. Matter of fact, I would love to see, I used to be able to see the YouTube of Laith's blind audition. You know, when he first started on The Voice, I loved that, the way Farrell didn't turn around right away. And he asked him, well, was that you really on the guitar, all this? And when he did turn around, Laith just, it was awesome. I just used to be able to see that. Would love to see that again. But
that is a big drag about The Voice. The thing about it is that, like, they don't want to pay for licenses, is what I think. So your stuff goes off the air 2 years after you go on the show.
Oh, wow.
And of course, it's a real disservice to the people that are on the show. That's like a big exposure because obviously, I miss looking up that stuff or being able to include it in little. If I'm applying to a club, being able to put that little YouTube clip of something on The Voice was always a good thing. So anyway, it's a drag with that. And I'll tell you guys too that I tried to get them to allow artists to buy CDs of the music that we made on the show, and they didn't want to do that either. And it's like, we're all touring around, so if they'd let us buy them for $5 a piece and sell them on our shows for $10 or whatever, that would be helpful to their brand and us. But I think that what I've learned is that show is way more about the judges than it is the contestants.
Yeah.
Or and that's anyway, I'm still happy I did it because otherwise I wouldn't be seeing you guys. And
we are too. We're thankful you did it. We have them all on iTunes. Everything you did on The Voice.
Yeah. Well, our sons now call us Laith Al-Saadi groupies. So it's like, hey, but they are too.
They're all about your age.
They all love your music.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, they came down to Sylvia and Ron came down to see me at a place in Indianapolis in the Broad Ripple area.
Yes.
Called the Vogue Theater. And it was actually not terribly well attended, but it was a beautiful theater. We had a blast playing there.
Yeah.
Ronnie and I were talking. How many times have we seen Laith live now?
I think 6.
I think 6 or 7 times now. We've been up to Michigan to see
Just up to Michigan was the last one. That was awesome too, by the way. The drive up or drive in.
Yeah. That was my only drive-in concert that I've ever played.
That was great.
Yeah, it sure was. Yes. And then I was so glad we got to see you in Chicago. That was actually on Syl's birthday.
That was last year at the City Winery
in Chicago.
Wow.
And we didn't have a chance to speak with you that night. We talked to Mark, your drummer, for just a little bit after the show. We were there. When our boys were in high school, we had an exchange student from Germany that he and his wife were living in Evanston during the time. And for my birthday, they had us come up from Indianapolis and took us to see your show at the City Winery. And
wow.
That was awesome. Loved that show too. We were able to sit right down real close. I loved that.
I really like those venues. I've played City Wineries in Boston, DC, Chicago. I've done like 4 times.
Wow.
I haven't done Nashville or Atlanta. Let's see, Boston I've played, and New York City. But anyway, they're all beautiful, you know.
Yeah.
They're good listening rooms. They were designed kind of for the artists and stuff. So I always enjoy playing there. I hope the experience is good, but
it was great. Yes, it was awesome. That night was awesome. And the food was real good too.
Are your friends still in Evanston, or have they moved back to Germany? Or?
They went back to Germany in March when everything was really starting here.
Yeah.
She has some health problems. Our exchange student's wife, and was suggested that they needed to get the hell out of Dodge, so to speak. So they went back to Germany. We're still in very close contact with them, and so. Cool. But yeah. Thank you for asking about that.
No, well, I like Evanston a lot. I've played up at a club called Space there, and one of my favorite Indian spots is called Himalaya, but that's in Evanston. My sister used to live up. Well, she still lives in Chicago, but she used to live up in the Rogers Park area, so we go up to a decent amount. Yeah, but this is a weird question to ask, so I don't want to get political with it, but like, how did they feel about the healthcare system here? Like, was that part of the reason why they were going back? Did they?
Yes.
Okay, but I figured.
Yeah.
And people always say that everybody has it worse, but most people that I know that live in Europe and stuff really are happy with their healthcare.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons, definitely.
Yeah. And with her health issues, that she realized if anything happened, it would have been a real problem if she was still here. So they were glad they were able to take off, and actually Joe, our foreign city, he went back on his 40th birthday.
Yeah, we went up and helped close out their apartment and everything, and so
very cool. Where are they from in Germany?
They live in Hamburg, is where they live right now. Yeah, and we were over there when they were married, and beautiful place.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I'm sorry. We probably should talk about music a little bit, but this is really fun to be able to chat with people that
it sure is
on a regular basis. So. Does anybody have any music-related questions or
comment? Are we on?
Yeah, you are. Go for it.
Hey, Jerry.
No, I remember when we saw you in Somerville 2 or 3 years back. And one thing I really like about you, there's a bunch that I really like, but I think you're playing a Tom Petty song, "Running Down a Dream."
Yeah.
And I love how whatever you play, you'll always throw in little riffs or little licks from other tunes.
Yeah.
And when you were playing "Running Down a Dream," you threw in some La Via Strangiato from Rush.
Yeah.
And I nearly fell off my chair, and I looked at Jodi and I said, there's no way anyone else here caught that but me. That's more my style of music, hard rock, heavy metal. We don't agree on music, but we come together with blues, and
awesome.
You're certainly one of our favorites.
Thank you.
But that was amazing. I was like, oh my God, did he just do that?
I am a huge Rush fan, so.
Well, yeah. You're a musician, an actual musician, and you appreciate other musicians. Yeah. So, they qualify. So
they certainly do, man. I was actually really lucky. I got to meet Alex and Getty. I didn't get to meet Neil, and of course, did not know about what kind of shape Neil was in. But basically, on the last tour, the R40 tour,
that was great.
It was amazing. And the tour manager was somebody that I actually knew because he's from Ann Arbor. I don't know if you know this, but Rush's tour manager for years was from Ann Arbor. He was a dude named Skip Gildersleeve.
Really?
And yeah, I mean, for over 30 years, I believe.
Wow.
Skip passed away, and basically, I think through Skip and just them touring around, they met another guy from Ann Arbor that was a very experienced tour manager for Seeger, for tons of people. But anyway, Craig Blazer was his name, and he did the last tour. And I had met Craig when I did the Ann Arbor Folk Festival at Hill Auditorium, and we kind of hit it off. And so when the R40 tour came around, I got passes to go in Chicago see them at the United Center, and I got to stand in line, and of course, got to meet Alex and Getty and get my picture taken. So pretty big highlight. I mean, I wish I'd known that was the last time I'd see them. I think I've seen Rush 17 times. So
wow,
really, I've seen them like 4 times. So
that's fantastic.
I can't keep up with that, but yeah.
I started on the Roll the Bones tour.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
So
mine was Counterparts.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah.
Pretty close to the same time frame.
Yep.
I remember waiting in line for Counterparts to come out at Tower Records on South U in Ann Arbor.
Oh yeah, Tower Records.
Yep. You remember that little vestibule up from the parking structure that you get to wait for tickets and all the albums to come out? I miss that, man. Like, people don't get excited like that about record releases and stuff anymore,
Yeah.
Oh, camping out overnight to make sure that you're there for the tickets in the morning, and
yeah.
And you're just
scrambling.
You're just surrounded by other music fans, and you just talk. It's great.
Totally.
Friends you haven't met yet.
Exactly. But like-minded folks, you know it.
Awesome.
So
I was going to ask a question of Laith, because I'm just dying to know. I think I read somewhere, or maybe it was an interview that you did, where you said that you started playing guitar because you really, you were a Beatles fan. You wanted to be able to sing along with the Beatles, and you started playing guitar without really thinking about guitar as your like primary musical instrument. You really wanted to sing, but you became this fantastic guitar player as well as a great vocalist. So when did that drive to be as great a guitar player as you are a vocalist start?
Well, man, I don't know. I mean, like, the love for it started right away. I don't know that I think of myself as good of a guitar player as I am a singer, or even, but I don't know what I think about any of that, period. But I guess it just happened right away. I mean, so I'll correct a couple things. I didn't want to just sing along with the Beatles. I wanted to sing along with my friends playing Beatles songs was kind of the deal. So, like, basically, it was kind of around that time that we all went to camps as a kid and all that stuff, and I kind of realized how sweet it was to have this portable instrument that you could just take down to the campfire and have an awesome evening, sitting and singing songs that everybody knew and liked and all that stuff. So that was kind of the impetus, but I think I pretty much started playing guitar all the time right when I got one. And of course, I started out probably atypically with an electric. So I had this crappy blue Magnum Explorer and a Yamaha 10-watt Budokan amp or whatever. So, I mean, I remember, I wish I had a recording of it because it must have been the most annoying phone call known to man. But I remember getting home with that stuff and calling my friend Phil and be like, "Hey dude, listen to this." I just couldn't play anything on it. Just was so thrilled to be able to like make loud noises with it anyway. And so yeah, but I don't know what to say. Like I can't. I think it just pretty much instantly set in that this was going to be something that I kind of had an aptitude for, and it was. I don't know. Like, stringed instruments are easier for me to relate to than most other instruments. Like, I played the piano I took piano lessons when I was a kid and did not practice much. I still play piano and write on piano, and I still I had to take 2 years of it in college and stuff like that. So I have a pretty rudimentary or intermediate understanding of it. And I think as far as music theory and stuff goes, I still visualize stuff on the keyboard more than I do the guitar because it's kind of a more logical setup. But other than that, there's something about stringed instruments. So, I double majored in bass and guitar because at Community, which is the high school I went to in Ann Arbor, I ended up by default in my last year being the best bass player they had around. And it's because I had kind of played in intermediate bands since 9th grade doing that stuff. And then same thing happened in college, man. I mean, I went to Western for my first 2 years and I didn't do any bass there. they had a pretty big bass studio, so I was a voice and guitar major. But then I transferred to U of M, and when I did, they wouldn't let any of my credits transfer from Western. So I had to start over with 4 years of applied study on guitar. And I decided, because I was starting over, I'd kind of learned by that point that voice study wasn't as intensive musically as instrumental study. So I switched the voice thing to bass because they needed a bass player. And so by default, again, there I was the kind of the best bass player around. So I played in the big band, you know, the jazz orchestra, all 4 years. Got to study with Paul Keller, who I absolutely love. And they bring in guest artists too. So I mean, I had lessons with Rufus Reed, who is one of my favorite bass players from, you know, well, I guess he's from New York or New Jersey area. And then Edgar Meyer, who plays with like Bela Fleck and you know, just one of the greatest bluegrass and classical guys out there. And Ray Brown, who passed away shortly afterwards, but Ray Brown was married to Ella Fitzgerald and played in the Oscar Peterson trio and is the bass player on all the Louis, you know, Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald recordings. Anyway, so they really made a pretty cool program, I guess, for me to be able to study bass there, because they kind of knew that they were using, you know, even though Paul is absolutely like international caliber, they would, you know, bring in a special artist to give me a lesson every once in a while and stuff like that. So I enjoyed it. It was good studies.
That's wild.
Yeah.
All right. So anybody else have some questions for Laith?
I could go on and on and on.
I'm just going to say hi, Laith.
Hi, how are you, Tobi?
Hey.
I'm sure the
parking lot.
weather is much nicer where you are.
It's actually chilly in Encino today.
Is it?
So what is chilly to you in Encino?
Anything under 72.
I love it.
Come to New Hampshire.
We're at about 25.
I keep my house in.
Awesome.
So, Laith, I do have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
I had like, you are brilliant to me, like just absolutely like brilliant. Do you have a photographic memory, or like how does this come out of you? And like you're talking to everybody on this call and you're recalling where they first saw you at and other places that they've seen you perform and other venues in that place and the name of the venue that they saw you perform. It's mind blowing. You are.
Well, thank you.
It's true.
I don't know, you know, like I definitely don't have like a photographic memory. I think I've got kind of close to one, like as far as especially my auditory memory goes. I feel like that's one of the cases where it is more like that. Like, I mean, I have always been, since I was a kid, able to kind of like replay records in my head. Like, so like literally, because I don't have perfect pitch, but I wasn't really trained formally. So I feel like I might have had perfect pitch if I was like given classical lessons and always knew when I looked at an A on a piece of paper that sounded like this thing, but I didn't learn to read because I was teaching myself how to play rock and roll. So I didn't have that association with like what, you know, note names were there and stuff like that. But that said, I would like get pitches to tune my guitar from replaying records in my mind. So like, you know, so Get Back by the Beatles is in A, or things like that. And I can just know the sound of that song and then get the pitch that I'm trying to tune to from that. And so that is something kind of photographic. And then I'd say like, I've got a good memory for the most part. I mean, definitely, I feel like it gets worse over time, maybe not just in age, but also the memory banks get filled up. Like I used to be great at remembering phone numbers and everybody's names. And I hope I'm still good at it, but the more people you meet and the more stuff you have to remember, the harder that becomes. So,
There you go.
yeah, so I don't know. Anyway, Jaime, I think on a scale, I might be closer to a photographic memory than some, but I don't think it's anywhere near perfect. Let's say that.
That's how you broke it down, how, you know, the songs and the key and stuff like that. So thank you.
Well, that's another whole story, though, because like people talk about music in a lot of like kind of metaphorical ways. And the thing is, when people say music's a language, like it really is a language. Like that's not a metaphor. It's like there's structure to music. And when you learn that and you kind of learn you know how when you look at a word, you now see the word, you don't look at every individual letter. You recognize the word as the word.
Right.
So when people look at musical phrases and they're pretty studied, they'll look at a whole chunk of notes and the rhythm attached to it, and they see that as what it sounds like to them because they're actually familiar with it. And beyond that, then it's just like we chunkify information. We start to deal with bigger components and stuff like that. And I mean, so for me, I'm still amazed at people that can memorize like concertos and shit like that, where they're playing like 30 or 40-minute pieces that are incredibly complex and stuff. I mean, I'm just able to know a lot of songs. Like I think my specialty is the short form. I think of the song as like the short story of music writing, but of course it's also the most easily shareable with people and all that stuff. But anyway, I don't know what to say. I'm still in awe of a lot of people that can remember a lot more than I do, but I think I got a pretty good memory for that type.
Speaking of that, it brings me to my second question. Do you have a favorite artist? Is there one person that influenced you or motivates you or touches you more than?
Yeah, because the Beatles are like too profound of an influence, so they definitely are my favorite group and just have been since I was, I can remember. I mean, it's hard because I love so many people for what they do, but they definitely, like, they're pretty much the reason why I play music. I learned like how to harmonize, listening to their records, and that was the beginning of it. But I mean, I love Jimi Hendrix. I love Led Zeppelin. I love Pink Floyd. I love Eric Clapton. I love Rush. I love, a lot of that progressive rock stuff too. That's mainly the 70s stuff. So I'm kind of into the Frank Zappa and King Crimson and things like that. But I mean, and Yes.
Say yes.
Yeah.
But
so what's your favorite Beatles album?
probably Abbey Road.
Smart man.
Yeah. What about that album?
I'm sorry.
What about that album that makes it your favorite?
Well, Chuck, it kind of went through a succession to get there. So, like, I think probably when I was a kid, my favorite album was probably Sgt. Pepper.
Okay.
I think Sgt. Pepper has a little bit more of like a playful psychedelia to it that makes it more appealing to kids, I guess, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
The White Album is probably almost on par with Abbey Road for me. But the thing is, Abbey Road is like, okay, this is going to be too deep for this, but the Beatles are kind of like my religion, right? I mean, in my path in life, I have gone from being raised in church choir and all that to kind of leaving religion to coming full circle to, thinking for a second I was atheist, then realizing, no, I believe that we're all in this together and that we're all made up of the same things and that we're all, I maybe didn't buy organized religion for what it was, but I believe that we are all part of something greater, that we all have something greater inside of us. I called that God, and in the end, I came full circle to believing that God is love. And that is where the Beatles led me, right? In the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. I mean, it's like that. I'm not a big fan of things that divide people. So I'm, again, not a big fan of the organized religion aspect of that, but I definitely came full circle to that. And I think the Beatles are a huge part of like my worldview. So Abbey Road is this just amazing album that kind of not only takes you through this whole journey, but like the end of that album is so profound and really lays it all out there. I mean, if a musician were going to lay their heart out there for everybody to hear the message that they really wanted to put out into the world,
right? I
can't think of a better way to do it than the end of that record.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
And I guess, so, the White Album on the other end is like, it's satirical. It's looking at all of this different kinds of music, you know, that had existed or was up and coming, and it's really experimental and all that. So I mean, you know, I don't want to take away from the creativity that is that album, but as far as like making a real impression on me as a human being and all that, I think that I have to go with Abbey Road. So.
Fantastic. That's awesome. All right. So does anybody else have any questions for Laith?
I also am a big Beatles fan. I mean, who isn't? But I always thought that, like, if life was a movie and life ended, the closing credits would always be accompanied by a day in the life. And
oh my God.
A day in the life, that last note is the last thing you hear before the screen goes black. And I just thought, wow, that how.
You ever hear about how they did that, Jerry?
No.
They had 6 grand pianos set up, and everybody played the same chord on every piano.
Oh, really?
Yep. So George Martin, Paul, Ringo, John, George. I think I'm missing somebody because I'm pretty sure it was 6 pianos that were played. But anyway, yep, they all played that togetgether. So that chord is one of, you know, it's super iconic, but that's how they got it. It's just like the biggest.
That's a cool story. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's pretty awesome.
That used to be my favorite Beatles song, actually. It's still probably a big contender.
It's hard. It's hard to pick one. But
yes.
Hard to pick a favorite of your music too.
Well, thank you.
That's true.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Thank you.
What's everybody's favorite Laith song?
I'm curious about that.
Oh man, that's tough.
As soon as I say one, I'll be like, "Oh wait, no."
Right, exactly.
But I'm going to go with Complete Disgrace.
Oh.
Yeah.
Love that song.
Yes. Oh man, there's so many I love. What it means.
Yep.
Thank you.
Man, Ophelia.
Yeah.
Now that's not mine.
It's a cover.
Well, I know.
But man, that's a good song.
There's so many. I love the various, like, if.
I should have questioned her motivation.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
All these years.
Oh yes.
So good. So,
thank you.
And it's funny because for me, the first album of yours that I listened to was Real. And I said, okay,
yes.
Then I'm going to go backwards. And then when, you know, I'm losing my mind here, but
in the round,
the one prior to it, not in the round, the second.
Oh, long time coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going backwards, and they just got better. Not better, but because they all sound a little different. Like the first one is different from Real, and you know what we've heard from your upcoming album is different from everything else. So that's kind of cool too. But it's just everything that I played, I was blown away. First listen.
Thanks.
So
thank you so much.
Just amazing stuff.
We are training our children well. They all listen. They know they can't talk to us on phone. They're eating dinner and milling around right now, but they know they can't talk.
And we have not missed a Friday night, not once.
Yes. Thank you guys so much.
That's right. On camping and taking you with us.
We missed one while we were on vacation in Michigan because the reception at this house.
Right. But you watched it when you got back.
Yes,
we did.
Yes, we did.
Saw that you left a comment.
Yes. I mean, you know,
I really appreciate it.
It was in God's country. It's Michigan, so we love it.
Where were you up in Michigan?
Honor.
Oh yeah. US 31. Did you go to the Cherry Hut by any chance up in Beulah?
Oh, of course.
Yes.
We had to go there.
Is that not the best cherry pie that you've ever had?
Yes. Probably we brought 6 of them back.
Man, you cannot go up there without going to the Cherry Hut. Oh my gosh, yes.
I love it. Yeah, that's a beautiful area. My dad had a friend that lived in Honor. They were an older couple, so they passed about 20 years ago. But we used to go up there when I was a kid and stay at their place. And just what a beautiful town.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. That was funny. That was the only time we missed you on Friday night was up there in Michigan. It's like
But the show went on.
yes. Oh,
Good
we
for
loved
you.
it. We were actually in South Haven when we saw the one where was it at?
Oh,
It was on a Thursday night. You did. It was
you were at a different venue.
yes. It was awesome. We were out on the boardwalk at the Old Harbor Inn watching that.
Yeah,
What was
dang
it?
it.
Otis Supply.
Yes.
It was at Otis
Oh.
Supply.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember that was actually a really nicely done show. I thought they did a good job.
Yes. We've watched that several times. I like that a lot.
Thank you. Because you know what? I need to watch it again because I did one acoustic set and one electric set on that one.
Yes. Yep.
And I have to say, I love, when you've got Dave and Mark with you and everything. I think one of my favorites, we saw you at Lone Oak, and Ronnie and I, we were right in the front.
That was funny.
You were right in front of us that night. And yes, I mean, that was something that I'll never forget.
That was great.
Had I met you guys before then?
Yes.
Yes.
We actually had a photo of us with you at the Vogue with us, and we asked you to autograph it for us, and we actually we said, if you want one of us, you could have one too, and you were kind enough to take it.
Of course.
That's awesome. That's
But
awesome.
I didn't remember you guys coming up to Grass Lake, but that is so awesome. That's I miss that because that was actually the most intimate gig,
Yes.
since
Oh
I
my
get
gosh,
to play.
that was great that way.
It's so much fun. It's like playing in somebody's living room or something.
Yeah, you're right.
Exactly.
Our living room's pretty big if you want to hit New Hampshire. Probably get 25 people in there.
There you go.
You obviously don't live in Michigan right now.
Yeah.
We have like 10% minimum on the amount of people that we can have in our houses for things.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That's true. That's true.
Us too, yep.
Yep.
We're pretty good
Yes,
in New England.
indeed.
Yeah.
It's
And
unbelievable.
for me, I met Laith at the Write-Off Room in Woodland Hills.
All right.
That's right.
Yeah,
With-
and then you played at Maui Sugar Mill, and Jeff Perlman was backing you on bass.
Oh, cool.
Jeff has been playing bass with me for probably over 7 years now. I was just so lucky to meet him out there. My drummer, who played at the Sugar Mill with me, Mark, had moved out there, and I would go out to visit LA a lot, and so we were kind of looking for somebody to be able to play with out there, just so we could start taking bar gigs or work when I was out there. And Jeff offered it up.
Right.
As you know, Jeff's a great guitar player and singer in his own
He's
right.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Did you played at his CD release party, didn't you? The big one in December. I think it was December.
I didn't. I came out the week after that, and I was so.
Oh,
you know what?
okay.
I came out the day after that, Toby, and I had
Oh,
already
man,
bought
it
my
was-
ticket, and I was so upset because I had a gig too that night because it was. I think it was on a Tuesday night, and anyway, yeah, I came out on a Wednesday, so I was bummed to miss that. But he's super talented.
It was standing room only at 6:30.
So this room she's talking about, though, this write-off room, unfortunately, they are in the midst of being closed and probably will find another location. But this is it's a great story. It's in Woodland Hills, was in Woodland Hills, and this dude basically came into a fortune. He invented something with this guy, and then they didn't speak for years. And then years later, this guy came in with all this money from somebody that had bought their patent. And I guess they were pretty well-to-do anyway. So they made this club, and it's called the Write-Off Room, literally because it's a tax write-off, because they decided they loved music so much they didn't care about it really being a profit maker as much as it was a place for great musicians to get together and play. And man, the caliber of musicians is unbelievable.
Great.
We're talking Rob.
They just have all the
Schneider.
best LA players, and I mean people that have played with all the legends. One of the owners I'm sorry, one of the owners, the guy that got that money is a guitar player. I think his name is Bill, and
Bill Lynch.
Bill
Lynch.
Sorry, and Bill Lynch's house band is Abraham Laborio on bass, James Gadsden on drums, and Mike Finnegan on keyboards.
Wow.
These guys are the top of the heap. I mean, James Gadsden played with Bill Withers. James Gadsden is one of the greatest, R&B session funk drummers that you will ever find. Mike Finnegan, actually, when you hear my new or forthcoming record, he's the keyboard player on it, but I've seen Mike Finnegan play with Crosby, Stills, and Nash, with Bonnie Raitt. He's another just top call, wonderful keyboard player and singer. And then, and Abe Laboriel, whose son, Abe Laboriel Jr., actually is the drummer for Paul McCartney. And Abraham Laboriel is just, dude, he's a motherfucker, as they say. He's just so good. So anyway, those guys are awesome. That club, I hope to see resurface because it's something special. Anyway, I'm sorry to.
Hey, Laith, I'll tell you real quick. They're looking to buy a 5,000 square foot place in either Studio City or Sherman Oaks.
Wow. Well, that would be amazing if they were closer to that end of the valley too. When I started going to Cali, I would play out in Sherman Oaks all the time because they had that club Cozy's. So I'd play at Cozy's. Well, that's where I met Jimmy Vivino and played with Lucky Peterson. And anyway, there's tons of great experiences there. And then there was a club called Cafe Cordial right down the street. And, that, of course, Leland Sklar would play there, and Russ Kunkel and all these cats. So,
Rusty Kunkel.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
That was quite a scene anyway down at that end of Ventura. And so I'm very happy to hear that they might have a write-off room over there.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, Jane, did you have any questions for Laith?
Well, I was just going to say I've known Laith, it seems like forever. You were just starting to grow your beard and your long hair, I think, when we first met. So how long ago was that?
Wow. Well, probably 2008, something like that.
I was going to say somewhere around there.
Yeah. And
we met through a mutual friend who also knew Mark. And we just started, my husband and I just started coming to see you once a week or twice a week, wherever you played around Ann Arbor.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Good Night, Gracie.
Yeah.
Good Night, Gracie. Yeah.
Great. And while everybody loves your music and your singing and your talent, I just think that your personality of just being a heck of a nice guy.
Amen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what always impressed me. And I think it was about this time of the year when we first met, because we were in Gracie's and you were doing your songs and so forth. And then you started throwing those little things in with a few bars of A Christmas Carol.
Man.
I was like, oh my gosh. I've not heard A Christmas Carol as part of a Pink Floyd number.
Along with that.
But it's been great fun knowing you. He played at my daughter's wedding.
Oh, awesome.
A few years ago.
Special.
Oh, it was a fun wedding.
It was great. There were 2 other weddings at the venue we were at, and they didn't like their bands, and they came up to listen to Laith.
Had a bunch of wedding crashers.
Yeah, it was.
It's really true.
Band wedding.
Yeah. And he's trying to copy my late husband on his beard.
I don't think I could ever do that. Pop
Oh yeah, it's getting gray, Laith, so you know.
Awesome.
But just love you, Laith. And
Jane's husband and I were very good friends, and
yes,
he was an incredible guy. We had a lot of fun together, and he'd come out routinely on Wednesday nights and Thursday nights to come down to Gracie's.
It was a lot of fun.
Great. Jaime, did you have a question?
Yeah, speaking of when you decided to start growing out your beard and your hair, for why? Like what inclined you?
Wow. That I always hated shaving, period. And I'm a lazy bastard, I guess. Figured the no maintenance plan was easier. I'm half kidding. I really did hate shaving, but I think the other thing is like I realized when I started to grow it out, because I'd always like let it go a little while, and I noticed it wasn't patchy. And I was like, you know what? Not everybody can grow a full beard. And so I decided to keep letting it go. And of course, it's I don't know, probably has lost me lots of chances with women, but no, I'm kidding though. I mean, I like it. It's just, you know, once I got past those first like couple weeks when it was no longer itchy, I actually really enjoyed having the beard, and it's nice, you know, to not have to shave. You agree, Chuck, don't you?
Oh yeah, I love it.
That's like the greatest benefit of it all, is like just not having to deal with that. You know?
Yeah, I have huge beard envy because your beard is just like monstrous, you know? It's so cool. I love it. Yeah.
Got a pretty good one yourself, my friend.
Thanks, man.
So if you had the chance to talk with Billy Gibbons, would you be talking guitars or beards?
Oh.
You know, I actually have talked to Billy Gibbons a couple times, and we've never talked beards.
Wow.
I don't think there's much conversation about beards, and certainly not about Billy Gibbons with beards, because his band has the most legendary beards in the world, probably. So,
right. Yeah. and what can you add to it anyway? It's just
exactly
speaks for itself.
Oh, product, you know, secret, things like that. Like, come on, girls, you know, like we exchange hair product, secrets, and stuff like that.
I should have asked. So what kind of juices do you treat your beard with, Billy? No, it was really it was a trip. I met him in L.A. when I was out there for The Voice, and we met in a Guitar Center, and he was totally cool. I mean, just like we probably talked for 20 minutes there, and just he didn't have to give me the time of day, and he was very gracious. And then after that, I met him again in New Orleans with Jimmy Vivino, and got to hang out with him and his band, actually, because Jimmy was friends with Billy, so I got to go bar hopping with them a little bit. Here's some stories.
Yeah,
but he's always one of my favorite guitar players.
Man. Oh yeah,
yeah,
especially that early stuff.
Ooh. Yes, that is the best stuff.
You're not kidding.
Yeah.
Laith, did you find that you heard anyone yourself on The Voice that you kind of liked and followed?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like actually I made some good lasting friendships on The Voice. My closest friend probably that I made on the show was a guy named Owen Danoff.
Yep.
And Owen is the son of a great songwriter named Bill Danoff. And Bill Danoff wrote Country Roads, Take Me Home. He wrote, I think, 12 songs that John Denver did, and a few of them were hits. And then he also had a band, which I'm sure you guys will at least remember through the movie Anchorman. But he had a band called, come on, I know the name of the song right now. Oh, the Starland Vocal Band.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Afternoon Delight. That was one of his songs, and he was a singer in that, and his wife was. So anyway, so pretty cool. Bill is actually a really awesome guy, and anyway, Owen is a very talented songwriter, good singer. So I have a lot of respect for him in both regards. And then there were other people that I thought were great. Let's see. Ryan Quinn was another singer that was on my, and I thought had a great voice. You know, Owen and Ryan and I always used to get together and eat dinner together because they also liked spicy food. So we'd have nights where we'd just get down in the lobby and go, you know, we were all sequestered in a hotel, not allowed to leave the hotel, not allowed to have cab rides anywhere, not allowed to have friends visit us.
Wow.
You know, all this stuff was totally under wraps. And so it was kind of even a major deal once we found out that we could get food delivered to us. So we'd just hang out near the lobby of the hotel and get Indian food, Thai food, or whatever it was. But anyway, So that's the first one you go to, and then that, because you got to remember they start out with over 100 contestants before you do the blinds, right? So there's 48 spots to make it on, because each team has 12 people, and so you have generally, I want to say the roster was like 114 people at the beginning, but of course people start dropping like flies because the situation's not easy to deal with, because again, you're locked in a hotel, you can't see people, blah, blah, blah. And of course there are people that are not well conditioned for that experience or have stuff going on that they're worried about at home and stuff. So, so I think probably about 10 people left over the first week and a half, just because of that stuff. And then you have, the other half that aren't going to make it, basically. So once they fill the 48 spots, everybody just goes home that didn't get to audition. And then the first 3 rounds of the show are pre-taped. So I was out there from September till October to do the blinds. Then I went back home, and then I came back out and did the battle rounds and the knockouts. And then I went back home for the holidays. And then we came back, and when the show went live, which is after that, is when we were there and basically doing it live every night. By the time that happened, it really was live too. So like they were a little less overbearing about us getting out, because I guess they had problems with people like leaking secrets and stuff in the past. And I mean, you wouldn't think it, but I guess everything else is this way in life. But people were betting in Vegas on The Voice. So like if you could get inside information on who was going to make it in those first few rounds, somebody could make money and stuff. So it was really crazy, because the NDA we had to sign, a $5 million NDA.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. So we would totally hose if we had, released any of that information. So they're pretty serious about it. And even with my family, I think it was $1.5 million when they were out there. Yes, they had to sign little forms and stuff like that. So it's pretty crazy.
Didn't you do something on stage with Joe Walsh?
I sure did.
Yes.
I remember.
About my favorite thing about that whole show, I think. I mean, it was just such a, I didn't think I'd get to make it to the finals anyway, but just the fact that I had some kind of in. Basically, Joe's personal manager is a guy that lives in Birmingham, Michigan, which is not too far from Ann Arbor. It's about 45 minutes away. And that guy knew one of my friends that stage manages for shows and stuff. So when I made it to that point, this guy actually called me. I say, I'm giving you guys the scoop. He called me and said, hey, Laith, if you're interested in having Joe Walsh as your special guest, I bet we can get him to say yes.
Oh my God.
And of course, that was kind of it. It's just like, I couldn't think of anybody better than I could possibly get.
Sure, why not?
So I did that, and Joe came, and Joe was just so nice. Like, I mean, I saw him once after the show and got to play with him at Pine Knob with Keith Urban, actually. And that was really cool, too, that he'd even invite me to come out in real life after that. But it was just so cool to play with him on stage. He was so gracious. I think he actually liked our version of Rocky Mountain Way, too. I mean, I dare say that we did a pretty good version of it. So
it was a great version.
I loved it. Yeah,
thank you.
That was great.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, he's a total guitar hero of mine, and amazing songwriter and singer in his own right. So I couldn't believe I got to meet him. And Marjorie, his wife, is amazing. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Marjorie, Joe Walsh's wife, is sisters with Ringo Starr's wife.
Oh,
so imagine that they have family get-togethers all the time with, only Ringo Starr and Joe Walsh.
Right. Wow.
Nothing scary.
I think Joe's actually been part of the All-Star band, too, a few times.
Yep, he has. Yep. Jack Blades and, yeah.
Oh, man. Steve Lukather. There's so many guys. He's got Greg Raleigh plays keyboards in that band.
He was in Journey.
Santana and Journey and all that stuff. Anyway, yeah.
Greg Raleigh.
Killer.
Yeah.
I saw a picture, actually, one year. I think it was in the 80s, but there was one year that he toured with 3 drummers in the All-Star band. So it was Jim Keltner, and who's the other guy? There's Ringo, Jim Keltner, and I cannot. I'm brain farting on this. I'm not going to be able to remember it. But it's Alex Van Halen was in the photograph. I'm going to actually see whether I have this in my phone pictures while we're chatting. I'll see whether I can give you the answer to the other drummer, because I can't believe I'm forgetting it right now.
I just want to say,
well,
Chuck
Ringo
and Laith,
didn't
I
play
just
drums
want to
in
say
Walsh,
that I have
man.
to leave.
Jane,
Yeah,
you have to leave.
I have to leave.
Nice
So,
to see you.
Well, thank you for joining us.
See you on the stream.
and you know, best wishes, Laith, and nice to see all you other people that love them too.
And nice to
Yeah.
see you too.
Thanks
Yes.
for joining, Jane. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Take care.
We'll see you soon. Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, we're actually getting close to the witching hour for this episode of Fans with Bands. I
Oh yeah, we're
everybody
over an hour. And
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna be able to
Man,
tell
that
you.
was a quick hour.
I know.
Oh, wait a minute. This might be Levon Helm. How can
Oh,
I forget
man.
my favorite number? That's what I was trying to say. So Levon, Jim Keltner, and Ringo Starr in the same band.
Yeah.
Like,
A fair drummer.
first
there.
of all, I'm very embarrassed that I forgot that, being that I think all of you know that Levon is like
Yeah.
my favorite.
The band.
Yeah.
Yeah. But wouldn't that be amazing to see that?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Nils Lofgren on guitar. They had Dr. John on piano in that band. They just killing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it happened, but I recorded my last album that is not out with Jim Keltner on drums, and Jim and Ringo are good friends. And so what got us back together actually in the studio is that Jim was telling me that he really enjoyed listening to the record that we made together, which is Real.
Yeah.
And so when I got in the studio with him, I was like, Jim, I don't know if you'd ever do this for me, but if you like Real, oh man, I do. It's a great record. I'm like, well, is there any chance you'd pass along a copy to Ringo? Oh, sure, man. So as far as I know, I believe Ringo Starr now has a copy of Real in his
Really?
Whether he's listened to it or not, I have no idea, but that
I'm
may
sure he
be
has.
still
It's lost if not.
Yeah, I'm sure if he has, he's a fan.
Well, thank you.
We'll all have to send him messages through every social media thing out there. Say, Ringo, listen to Real. It's awesome.
That would be amazing.
Hey, Laith, one real quick thing about Ringo.
Yeah.
Lawrence Juber's wife, Hope, she stepped on Ringo's foot, and that's how she met Lawrence Juber. And
What?
yeah. She
That
came
is
live.
amazing.
She came live on one of his streams one day and told us the story. Man, it was amazing. Amazing.
Wow. So I found out I'm a GHS string artist, and I found out that Lawrence is too. So I have a custom set of Lawrence Juber strings from GHS right now. He's such a monster player, man.
Fantastic. Well, guys, I want to kind of wrap up with one last question for everybody, and that is, we really can't do any traveling right now, but if you could travel right now anywhere in the world and see Laith play live, we fly him out there, wherever that is, where would you like to go see Laith? Let's start with Tobi.
Oh, shoot. The new write-off room when it opens.
All right.
That was pretty awesome. I have actually yet to play at the write-off room.
There you go.
I thought you shared the stage, though, but not solo.
I did not, actually. Jeff Pearlman was playing the night we went up to see him. And, of course, we thought about asking, but with George Deering and all those other guys, it was...
the deductions. Okay.
The deductions were playing. And George and Dean actually were both also playing that night. So, yeah, no, I never got a chance to. Played at Harvell's and at Maui Sugar Mill. And, you'll have to come down to my friend's restaurant in Studio City I play at sometimes called Tuning Fork, but that's mostly a solo acoustic thing. But I do that with Jimmy.
Well, I'll hook you up with Bill and Maggie because I assist with the calendar of events.
Oh, awesome.
There you go.
I really enjoyed going down there the times I got to see it. It's a great club, so I would love to come down and play sometime.
We'd love
Thanks,
to have.
Tobi.
All right.
Cool. How about Jerry and Jodi? Where would you guys like to go?
Jodi can go first.
Well, of course, would love to have you in New Hampshire. But I would say I would like to see you in Nashville, seeing that I've never been and you've never been, right, to play there.
That is true.
Awesome.
That'd be cool.
I have played there, but never on my own gig. And I got to work on City Winery. My old guitar teacher moved to Nashville a while ago. My dad lived there for years, so I used to go sit in on Broadway Street, which is where all the bars are in Nashville, where the music venues are. And so gotten to play at Robert's Western World and Tootsie's and a couple of the other,
cool.
commercial spots, but it's totally fun. And seeing some killer guitar players there. That's a town I don't think I'd last long in.
And it's not just, right? Jerry won't go to Nashville because he thinks it's all country. But.
Jerry, I'm into heavy metal, and I went to Nashville, and it's awesome. So there you go.
Oh boy! All right.
And there's a lot of great musicians there too, Jerry. It's gotten so far beyond country these days. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, if I could go anywhere to see you, my backyard would be just fine. That would be pretty cool. But get the whole band, plug in. We have a little issue with live bands in my backyard, but we'll make it work.
As long as your neighbors enjoyed good music.
At least knowing we have that. Awesome. But I'd go see you anywhere. I'd hop on a plane to go to Michigan to see you. So it doesn't really matter.
Thank you, guys.
Cool. Ron and Syl.
Wow.
Oh man, I know we're in Ann Arbor at the Blues Festival.
Oh, cool.
And it was like, that's where I want to go, or the Blind Pig.
Yeah, the Blind Pig is super.
It's like, that was, of course, like I said, since we're retired, it was like, oh, that's happening. But it didn't happen this year. But yeah, I'd love to see the Blues Fest in Ann Arbor.
Laith, I would love for you to come back to Indy, and I would love for the Vogue, if you liked that venue, for it to be packed to.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't squeeze another person in there. I mean, just so that
right.
Indy would show Laith some love, just like they need to.
The club was so nice to us, but unfortunately, we did not do well enough that I think that.
I know.
That really surprised us. We were like,
we will travel around wherever
yes,
you're
that's
playing.
for sure.
Well, we'll try to get back down there either way. And it's like, it was really hit or miss after The Voice. And obviously me not having experience with those different scenes, it was really kind of dependent on a lot of promoters to get the word out. So like there were not always bad experiences with towns we hadn't played at before. In fact, sometimes we'd sell out weeks in advance for some of those places. But, there were other things like I know where, Jerry and Jodi came to see me up in Somerville. That was not a well-attended show either. And then Indianapolis wasn't either. But like I'll say, I'd never played in Sacramento or San Jose, California, or in the Bay Area. And like Napa, I sold out 3 nights at the Blue Note there.
That's wonderful.
Sacramento has this club called it's not Harvell's, that's in LA. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it. Right, Harlow's, and that was also sold out like weeks in advance. So it's like you never know, And Chicago, of course, too. We did pretty well at the City Winery most of the times there and stuff. So, either way, once I'm allowed to get back out there, believe me, I'll keep on trying to spread my music wherever I can. But
well,
go
as long as I still am able to get out there.
So Greg, where would you like to see Laith play?
Oh, my first choice, I'd love to have you over here at JT's in Coldwater, or my first thought was BB King's in Nashville, Tennessee.
There you go.
Yeah,
that would be cool. I've been down to that BB's. I got to play BB's in New York once, which was pretty sweet. That was before that closed down, but that was a Times Square location. That was really fun. And Coldwater, man, I actually was out there 2 months ago, maybe. I played a guy's house that he had a camping party out in his backyard, and it was a total blast. Anyway, but yeah, it's a trip because I haven't been out there much. Now, this probably wasn't technically in Coldwater, but anyway, one of my best friends, Mike Caskey, who's a drummer in Chicago, his girlfriend worked at Tibbetts for summer, so we would make trips down to Coldwater to visit his girlfriend from our gig up north. Anyway, so I got a soft spot in my heart for that place.
Awesome. Jamie, how about you?
Well, I'm going to take you back to the beginning of our conversation, and I would like to see you at a campfire anywhere USA. Now, I apologize about my dogs because I live alone. They're not used to hearing other voices in the house, so they like to bark.
That's awesome.
But also, you know, my favorite song of yours is "Gone," and I thought I read somewhere that you wrote that in New Orleans, which is my favorite place in the world. And I've been all over the world, but like, campfire outside of New Orleans somewhere would be amazing to see you play, and especially that song. So,
well, thank you. Well, I'm sure we can make that happen sometime. And New Orleans is also like my favorite place.
Oh wait, you're recording this, right?
Yeah, it's recorded.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I wrote 3 songs off that album actually in New Orleans. I'm really lucky to know this guy that was president and CEO of Borders, who became a fan of mine when he was living in Ann Arbor, and he's been a big supporter of mine. And so my buddy George has a place on the top floor of the Jack's Brewery building, which is literally, if you're on the Mississippi River down across from the French Quarter, it's the big building to the right if you're facing Café du Monde. It's the first building to the right. So it's like prime location. Out in the back of his building is where the Natchez steamship is parked, and they've got the big walk, the boardwalk. Anyway, so I would go out with my guitar after we'd get back from watching music and sit on the back patio of this building up on the 6th level of it, just out in this. They've got an area for people to barbecue at, but nobody was out there at 2 a.m. And I'd just take my acoustic out and sit and write songs because it's just like impossible to not be inspired by the vibrancy of the city and what's going on. And so I wrote What It Means there. I wrote Gone there, and I wrote The Last Time You'll See Me Cry.
Oh, wow.
Man.
That's a great story.
That is.
Yeah. That is fantastic.
It's a special place. I wish I got to spend more. But,
so sorry we weren't there.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Oh, wait.
I really want to get down there and play. And that's another place that I have played there, but I have not played there since The Voice. Like, I've not had like a ticketed show there. I've gotten to do some cool events, but but still have yet to like have my own gig there. So
sounds like the place to go then. When the pandemic's over, we can.
Yeah, that's for sure. Maybe we could just all get together and do a road trip.
There you go.
Right? We should.
Fantastic.
We really should.
Well, guys, thank you again for being part of Fans with Bands with Laith.
Well, thank you.
Laith, thank you so much. You are my musical hero. I can't wait to see you live again.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks for doing this, man. This was really actually great to be able to talk to everybody. So
yeah, nice to see you. Thanks, Chuck. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
nice
thank you. It's nice to meet everybody.
We'll see you on the stream. We'll see you on the streams.
There you go.
And thank you for spreading the word and all that stuff. I appreciate it very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
We're trying.
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
All right. Love you, Laith.
Love you too. Thank you.
Peace, everybody.
Gotta go. I gotta host my 5:00 show. It started 15 minutes ago. All right, we'll see y'all soon.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you to everybody else.
Thank you.
Thanks to Laith Al-Saadi and fans Jaime, Jane, Ron, Sylvia, Jerry, Jodi, Gale, Tobi, and Greg for joining me on this episode of Fans with Bands. Laith is a phenomenal artist. Do yourself a favor and check out his album Real, and then go back and get his entire catalog of music. I think you'll be blown away, not only by his vocals and guitar, but by the outstanding songwriting. Be sure to follow him on social media and catch one of his Friday night live stream sessions. See the show notes for all the details and links. These are tough times for everyone in the creative industry such as music. Your support of live streaming, purchasing music, and merchandise is critical. If you can help out your local artists, please do. If you are in Michigan, consider following the Playing in the Detroit Area Tonight Facebook page. It is a place for fans and bands to support each other and share our combined love of music. Thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to get each and every episode of Fans with Bands. Spread the word by rating the show and leaving a comment. We want to hear what you think. You can keep in touch by following us on social media. This is a Life in Michigan production. Until next time, be well and kick out the jams.